So good afternoon. My voice is audible? My voice is audible. Somebody can respond.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So whatever part we have studied yesterday, just I will discuss these things in brief. So we have seen final drive. So one of the important assembly, which is the final stage of the transmission system used in automobile to multiply the torque or to give the final reduction in the speed so that vehicle can propel, and also to divert power at 90 degree. So that component we have seen final drive. Then in that, this one is gear type, and in the similar way we have seen worm and worm wheel, another type of final drive. Then one of the device which is known as differential, and which is required to differentiate the speed or to rotate two drive wheels at different speed relative to the each other. So that is required to negotiate the turn without skidding. So that we have seen. So this is differential action on the turn, that we have seen how relative speed is maintained. So one wheel RPM that is going to be decreased, and whatever decrease that will be added into the outer wheel. So as it has to cover more distance as compared to the inner side wheel. Then we have studied the construction and types of rear axle. So based on how weight is supported, how driving thrust is beared, on the basis of that, we have seen three types of rear axle. First one is half floating, second one is 3/4 floating, and third one is fully floating axle with the flange. So floating means it is a component which is going to float in between the wheel hub and the fixed wheel hub and the sun gear. So whether it is free to float, whether it is providing support to the weight of the vehicle, and also will take care of the driving thrust. Based on that, these three types are divided. Then we have seen the schematic images where we can see this semi-floating weight supported by the axle. So you can see this one is the axle. So at the center, so this is the axle. So weight supported by the axle, axle subject to both bending and torque. So one question will be there. So in case of semi-floating, weight is supported by the axle, or the axle in case of semi-floating axle system is subjected to. So options may be bending and the torque. So this way, this axle is supporting the weight. So again, here there will be leaf spring. Via leaf spring, load will be transferred to the casing, and that casing again it will given to this wheel. Then 3/4 floating. Here you can see axle shaft subjected only to torque, except when rounding the turns or on roads that are not level. So whenever road is having irregularities, at that time it is subjected to the road, otherwise it is subjected to the torque. And the third one, that is fully floating. Here it is fully floating, that means it has to take care of the rotation. So whatever speed this sun gear is receiving, the same RPM, it has to transmit to the wheels. So therefore, this type of mechanism wherein the axle is supported by two bearings at the hub and one bearing at the differential. So this is called as a fully floating axle. Okay. So am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then last bit from this transmission system, that is related to the wheels and the tires. So introduction to wheels and the tires. So already we know wheels and the tires. So generally wheel consisting of rim plus tire assembly. That whole assembly, that we are going to call it as a wheel. So what is the function of wheels and the tires? So contact with the ground. Again, it is acting as a primary suspension or cushioning the vehicle from effects of rough surface. So this wheel and the tire, it is one of the assembly and we are directly calling it as a wheel. So we are not calling separately, that is tire, that is wheel. So only wheel consisting of rim and the tire. So again, we need to see the functions of each and every one. So tire is acting as a primary suspension and it cushions the vehicle from effect of rough surface. So generally in the suspension system, leaf springs or the coil springs are used to absorb the shock. And again, they are going to absorb the shock, and damper is used to dampen down the amplitude of the vibration. But in the suspension system, the first shock that is absorbed by the tire. So as it is the material which can be used to cushion the vehicle, so direct impact will be first time at the tire. So this is acting as a primary suspension element by providing cushion to the vehicle. And again, a larger impact is taken by the springs and the shock is isolated. So the tire provides frictional contact with the road surface, so which allows to propel the vehicle or which allows driving wheel to move the vehicle. So again, front tires allow the wheels to steer. So whatever grip the tires are providing, with that grip, we are able to steer the vehicle in the desired direction. So also, tires allow braking to slow and stop the vehicle. So these are the functions in combine for the wheels and the tires. So only contact with the ground. It can act as a primary suspension element, provide frictional contact, allows steering, and also used to apply the brake and to stop the vehicle. So you can see just a figure. So whatever images on the slide. So this is the external surface of the tire. This is internal structure which differentiating various parts in the tire. So whatever two rings that are made of steel wire and encased in the rubber. So that means they are embedded in the rubber. Those we are going to call it as a beads. Again, you might have heard that 5-ply tire, 6-ply tire, 12-ply tire. So what is the meaning of that? So body plies, so rubberized fabric or cords wrapped around the beads. So whatever steel wires around that, the rubberized fabric or cords wrapped, those are called as a plies. So then the external, so whatever on the right side figure, you can observe the outer surface of the tire that comes in contact with the road. So this is about the tire. Then another components. So this one is the sidewall. So outer part of the tire that extend from the beads to the treads. Then this one is the liner. So thin layer of the rubber that is bonded to inside of the plies. So whatever rubberized fabrics we have seen in the previous slide. So to bound that, it is used. Then belts. So used to strengthen the body plies and stiffen the strain. So whatever thread we are observing, so this one is the outer surface of the tire that comes into contact with the road. Okay. So again, this is schematic cross section shown for the tubeless tire. So again, the tire with tube, and nowadays a tubeless tire. So just we are observing here introduction. So we need to study only the introduction. So tubeless tire. So this is the cross section of the tubeless tire. You can see various terms which are used in this tubeless tire. So this one is tread width, or we can say it as a crown area. This one is the shoulder. This is sidewall and casing ply. So you can consider it as a thickness. So based on this ply, you can consider it is going to increase the thickness, or less tire with less ply, it is having less thickness, and tire with higher ply, it is having more thickness. So like that you can understand. So this one is the inner liner and other terms. Okay. So basically these tubeless tires, that means tire without tube, very simple meaning. So in case of automobile, so suspension system is used, and suspension system, it is provided or it is designed in a such a way that it should have less unsprung mass. So accordingly, if a vehicle can be used tire with tube, so I will draw one figure here so that you can understand what is unsprung mass. So this is leaf spring, here axle, or sometimes this is the axle, this one is the wheel, and this one is the wheel. So weight supported by the spring, that is called as a sprung mass or sprung weight, and weight below the spring, that is called as a unsprung mass. Now if we are going to use tire with the tube, then it will increase the unsprung mass, and if we are going to use tubeless tire, then lesser unsprung mass will be there and will have good suspension system or good suspension action. Then it has better cooling, Again, tubeless tire will have lesser rolling resistance, will give comfortable ride, and slower leakage of air. So due to the structural design or the rubber property, and simpler assembly and improve safety. Or we can travel maybe 20 to 30 kilometer with having the puncture with the tire. So those are the some of the advantages with respect to the tubeless tire. Then you can see the tire sidewall marking. So this is the marking shown on the tire, may be asked during your campus interview. So here this is an one representative designation is shown. So here P195/75R1492S M and S. So this is the designation for this particular tire. So what is meaning of this? So P means passenger tire, then 195 section width in mm, then 75 aspect ratio or profile percentage of section width. So that is given. R means radial construction. So sometimes you might have seen that such designation on the side wall. So what is meaning of such designation on the side wall? These are the things. R means radial construction. What is this 14? That is rim diameter, and it is usually given in the inches. And then this 92 load carrying index. So max load per tire. So per tire, if 4 wheels are there, per tire, how much load it can carry. So that is indicated by this 92. So that is particularly for this tire. Then S is nothing but the speed rating of the tire. So 180 kilometers per hour. And this EM and AM, it is suitable for road and mud and snow road. So that is mentioned on tire itself on the tire sidewall. So that is the designation with that particular tire. Then here, this one is S, it is speed rating. So you can see here this S in this table. So am I audible? My voice is audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So this S is speed rating. Again, one table it is shown. Speed rating symbol, rating symbol, speed, and again speed miles per hour. So if instead of this S, if B is written, then speed will be 50 kilometers per hour. So we are going to see only kilometers per hour. Then as S is written, speed rating of the tire, you can refer this S here, this 180. So for B 50, C 60, D 65, E 70, then F 80. So if you are going to remember for B, then up to this C, B to C, 10 increment, C to D 5, D to E 5, E to F 10. So like this, if during the interview, if somebody is going to ask what is speed rating and where it is mentioned on the tire, so your answer should be like this. It is mentioned on the side wall of the tire. So basically it is denoted by one of the alphabet depending upon that alphabet. So this one is the standard table. So if M will be there, then there will be some particular speed. If S will be there, then there will be some particular speed. So all these things are mentioned on the tire. So you should know that what is P. That is for passenger tire. Then again here this R. You should know that this is related for the radial tire. Again this M and S. It is mentioned that suitable for mud and snow. So road having mud and snow, it is suitable for both the types of road. So at least some of the ratings you should know, not all, but that is required. Okay. Then next important thing, it is related to trade pattern. So whatever design in general, we are calling it as a design. So that trade pattern. So you can see this various trade pattern. So this is related to the performance in the summer. It is tire which can be used for all weather. It is used for wet weather. It is used for all terrain. That means all type of roads, all type of roads and all type of irregularities on the road. This is used for mud. This is used for mud. So again, based on this image, so there may be question. Are there difference in the tires used in all weathers, or if vehicle can be run in only in the summer, or vehicle can be used only for the wet weather? So there are different trade patterns, and accordingly which can be selected for that particular model. So based on that company, those are giving the tires along with the, so whatever purchasing we are initially making, so along with that they are giving some of the, so brand may be different. Okay, so based on the type of vehicle, one of the trade pattern tires will be given. Okay, then so this is about the tire. So we have seen the functions, then parts, then tire rating, speed rating, and the trade pattern. So for different vehicles, it may be vary. Okay, then next one, that is automobile wheel. So automobile wheel, it is an assembly of tire and the rim. So we can say this as a rim or the disc. So this is alloy wheel. So generally wheel is assembly of rim or disc along with the tire. That is nothing but the complete wheel. But nomenclature somewhat different. So without having any confusion in mind, so rim or the disc along with tire, that is called as a wheel. So these are the rim, or we can call it as a disc. Okay, so this is about wheel basic. You can see, so most standard wheels are made of steels. So some of the vehicles are fitted with alloy wheels that are made of magnesium or the aluminum. So this is the rim or disc, this is the rim, this is alloy wheel. So it can hold the tire and it can become a wheel. So this wheel or the disc or the rim is used to hold the tire, and that will give the traction, and that traction will be able to move the vehicle from one place to the another place. So this is center mounting section, this is a rim, and this one is the alloy wheel. Okay, so some of the types of wheels. So steel wheels, it is also called as a disc wheel. So this is a popular design. Which one is strong as well as cheap to manufacture? Then alloy wheels, attractive as well as light in weight but difficult to clean. Then spoke wheel, sometimes it is called as a wire wheels. So for some of the bikes, so whatever the wheels provided for the bicycle, so old type of the bicycles, that is also called as a wire wheels. So used on older sport vehicles, but with these spoke wheels we cannot use the tubeless tire. Then divided rims, another type of wheel wherein rims are made in two halves, so that means two parts and bolted together. And fifth one is split rim, wherein tire is held in place by large circlips. So these circlips are used to bolt or to hold the split rims. So this is about types of wheels. Then we need to check what are the requirements of automobile wheels. So automobile wheels should be strong enough to perform the functions. So already we have discussed. Then those should be balanced statically as well as dynamically. So that is wheel balancing, already it is part of regular maintenance. Then it should be lightest possible in order to have less unsprung weight, and if unsprung weight is more, then suspension or whatever cushioning effect will be reduced. So in order to that, so whatever wheel and tire assembly, it should have less weight. Then the whatever wheel, it should be easily removed or easy to mount. Then whatever material should be good enough. So it's the material should not weaken with weathering and the age. So it should not have any effect of the environment. So in case the material is susceptible to corrosion, it must be given suitable protective treatment. That means if such a material is used to manufacture the wheel, that is rim or the disc, then it should have some protective treatment in the form of coating in order to avoid the corrosion. So this is about a brief introduction regarding wheels and tires. So just start revise this again because it is important chapter in the syllabus. Okay. So in this unit, we have seen transmission system, wherein engine, the clutch, transmission box, then drive shaft, that is propeller shaft, final drive, and the rear wheel. So first we have seen requirements of transmission system, the clutch, then this universal joint, transfer case, final drive, differential, and in detail each of these. So basically transmission system, after the prime mover, that is the engine, this transmission system is used to propel the vehicle from one place to another. So the clutch unit, then transmission unit, then driveline unit, and the driving axle unit. So all these components are required to fulfill the requirement of the transmission system. So we have seen each of this. And finally, the introduction to the wheels and the tires. Am I audible? My voice is audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So should I start this unit number 4 from second section? So total 6 units are there. So assignment questions. So along with the notes, by tomorrow evening, I will send to you via WhatsApp as well as email. Okay. The next unit of this automobile engineering, that is steering system. So what is a prerequisite with respect to this unit? So you should have knowledge of the material, then principle of steering, so that is Ackerman and Davis steering mechanism, how these mechanisms help to steer the vehicle, what are the advantages and disadvantages, then friction, then toothed gear design, So these are the prerequisite that you should know. Then objectives of this unit is to understand steering layout of various steering gearbox. Then second objective is to understand steering geometry, wheel alignment, and third objective is to understand power steering. So after studying this or after completing this unit, student will be able to get basic knowledge of steering layout, able to identify steering gearbox, able to identify components of steering system, able to understand what is wheel alignment, what is wheel balancing, and able to understand the power steering mechanism. So unit content, functions of steering, then steering system layout, okay, functions of steering, then steering system layout, automotive steering mechanisms, wherein Ackermann and Davis steering mechanism, then types of steering boxes, and condition for true rolling. Then steering geometry, that we are going to see what is meaning of camber, what is meaning of caster, what is king plane inclination, included angle, toe in and toe out. And finally, the wheel alignment, slip angle, understeer and oversteer, and types and working of the power steering. So some of the numerical we are going to take. Okay. So first of all, we need to understand what are the functions of steering system. So basically, for the automobile, there are different systems which include starting system, which includes brake system, which includes steering system, suspension system, and other various systems. So this steering system, it comes under running system. So whenever vehicle is moving from one place to the another place, to negotiate. So am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just there was the issue with the internet. So because of that, I have confirmed. 1 minute. Screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, so it comes under a running system. That means whenever vehicle is moving on the road, the steering system is required to steer or to negotiate or to cover the road. So first function of the steering system is to achieve angular motion of front wheels to negotiate the turn. So whenever turn is required or the driver wants to negotiate the turn, we need to steer, or driver needs to steer the steering wheel. Accordingly, turn can be negotiated. It is also required, or its function is to provide directional stability when going straight ahead. So even though we are not having hand on the steering, it has to have directional stability whenever going straight ahead. So that is the function of the steering system. It also required to facilitate straight ahead recovery after completing the turns. So once turn is completed, or once we are negotiating the turn, after completion of the turn, steering automatically steer, or the wheel rotate in the opposite direction, and it will have recovery after completing a turn. Its function is to minimize wear and tear of a tire. So it is designed, it should have some alignment so that there will be less wear and tear of the tire. So its function is to absorb major part of the road shock, thereby preventing them to get transmitted to the hands of the driver. So that is also function of the steering system. That means it should absorb the shock, and in other words, it should be irreversible. It should be irreversible. Some obstacle, if it is there, so it should have irreversible characteristics. It should not give reaction to the components, or it should not give any reaction, and that will affect, or that will injure the driver, or those shock can be avoided. So those can be prevented by, in such a way that we need to design the steering. So function is to provide perfect rolling motion of the road wheels at all the times. That is called as a true rolling. So to have proper or better control, it should have true rolling. That is also function of the steering system. Now, next bit, that is components of steering system. So it consists of three major components. First one is steering wheel, which is located in driver's cabin. Then steering gear, which is required to convert rotary motion into to and fro motion of other link. And steering linkage, that is required to provide driver's action to steer the wheels. So various components which are used to pivot or to turn the vehicle or to steer the vehicle, those linkages we are going to call it as a steering linkages. So this one is the schematic figure which shows this steering system layout. So you can check this. So this is the wheel, this one is the wheel, but here it is mentioned as only tire, but we need to steer the wheel. Then this one is the front axle. This is the rod end. This is knuckle arm. This one is pull and push rod. This is pitman or drop arm. This one is the steering rod or steering shaft, and this is the steering wheel. So we know to steer the vehicle, driver has to rotate the steering wheel, and this one is the steering wheel. But we need to pivot this front wheel. So this is one reference line. This one is the reference line. So if we want to steer this in this direction, so we are going to rotate this wheel in this direction. So rotary motion is converted into to and fro motion of this link, that is push and pull rod. So this rotary motion is converted into to and fro motion in this steering gearbox. So this is first important component. This one is second, and this all these components we are going to call it as a third measure, that is called as a steering linkages. So steering wheel, steering gear to convert rotary motion into to and fro motion, and this is the steering linkage which is required to provide this to and fro motion at this steering knuckle, so that we can have this steering in either direction, left or right direction, depending upon rotation of direction of rotation of the steering wheel. So this one is another image. So you can consider this as a top view. Steering wheel, steering column. This one is steering gearbox. This one is push and pull rod. This one is steering spindle. And here, if we are going to pull this in this direction, as it is pivoted here, it will steer wheel in this direction, steer wheel in this direction. And this steering spindle is used to steer, and whatever the steering given for this wheel is tied with this wheel using this rod, that is called as a tie rod. And here you can see the kingpin. This one is the front axle. Okay, this is again another one arrangement. Here you can see this is steering wheel. This one is steering shaft, steering gearbox, cross shaft, tie rod. This one is knuckle, and here wheel will be mounted. Here wheel will be mounted, and this one is the drop arm. Why it is called as drop arm? So whatever action in the driver's cabin that is given to this steering linkages via this drop arm. Okay, then major parts of steering system. So already we have seen images including steering wheel, steering shaft, steering drop arm, which is also known as pitman arm, then knuckle arm, then steering column, steering gearbox, push and pull rod, which is also called as drag link, and finally tie rod and tie rod end. So depending upon the type of steering, the components are going to be vary. But in all the steering gearbox, all the steering types, the steering gearbox is used, which is required to convert rotary motion into to and fro motion of the drag link or push and pull rod. So this is one of the photograph of actual steering system. This one is the tie rod. This is knuckle arm. So this needs to pull in this direction with the help of this tie rod, and the knuckle or the spindle is given, knuckle or steering spindle is given on the right side, which is not shown here. So this is wheel hub. This has to steer. Automatically wheel is going to steer. Okay. Am I audible? My voice is audible? My voice is audible?
Yes, sir. But screen is not visible, sir.
Now it is visible?
Yes, sir.
Now this is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just I will repeat. Okay. So this is the slide regarding functions of steering system. Already we have discussed this now. Milin, this we have discussed na?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So screen was not visible when I was discussing.
No, sir, not visible.
Now it is visible. Just I will revise. Okay. So functions of steering system. So before that, I would like to repeat this. So what is required? So you should have knowledge of material, principle of steering, Ackerman and Davis, then friction, then toothed gear design. Then objective is to understand steering layout, to understand steering geometry, to understand power steering. So outcome, after completing this unit, you are able to identify steering layout, steering geometry, wheel alignment, and various aspects of the steering system. And also you should able to identify various components of the power steering. So here in this unit, we are going to see functions of steering, steering system layout, again automotive steering mechanisms, types of steering gearbox. So gearbox is required to convert rotary motion into the to and fro motion of the drag link or push and pull rod. Then we are going to see condition for true rolling, then steering geometry. After that, wheel alignment, what is slip angle, what is understeer, what is oversteer, types and working of power steering. So functions of steering system. So first function is to achieve angular motion of the front wheels. Second one is to provide directional stability. Third one is to facilitate straight ahead recovery. Fourth one is to minimize wear and tear of the tire. Fifth one, to absorb major part of the road shock. And finally, to provide perfect rolling motion of the road wheels at all the times, or we can call it as a true rolling. That means tire is completely in contact with the road. And when it is rolling in that manner, we can call it as a perfect rolling motion of the road wheels. Okay. Then components of steering system. So generally three main components: steering wheel, steering gear, and steering linkages. So here it is steering wheel. This is steering gearbox, and all these components under the steering linkages. So another image. So this is steering wheel, steering column, steering gearbox, push and pull rod. This one is the tie rod, wheels. Or here you can see in detail. Steering wheel. Here we are going to rotate this steering shaft. There is gearbox which converts rotary motion into to and fro motion of this push and pull rod using this dropper. This is called as a pitman or dropper. This one is pull and push rod, which is connected to the knuckle arm, which will provide steering to the vehicle. So to steer driver has to rotate wheel in anti-clockwise direction to steer in the left direction. Automatically this will also will steer in the left direction, because whatever motion of this wheel, it is tied with the help of this tie rod, so that this wheel also has to steer in the left or the desired direction. This one is another diagram for the steering system. This is one more. This is steering wheel. This one is steering column. Inside that, steering shaft is there. This is steering gearbox. This is cross shaft. And here, this is the dropper. Tie rod. These are the knuckles. So which can be used to mount the wheels. Then major parts of the steering system. So steering wheel, steering shaft, steering drop arm, that is also called as a pitman arm, then knuckle arm, steering column, steering gearbox, pull and push rod, that is also called as a drag link, and finally the tie rod and the tie rod end. Okay. So remaining part tomorrow I will take during our tomorrow's lecture.